Well, in 2007 is when I decided to run for the United States Congress. So ran 2008, won, and 2 years served in the United States Congress, lost my reelection, and then try to decide what to do next. But what I had found out is I liked being an elected official. I liked being able to really move policy that changes our communities, which I think for the better. And I thought, gosh, I think I'm fairly good at this. Let me see if I can do something else. So decided to look at local politics, because when I was a member of Congress, I had 7 counties, and although I tried not to have like my favorite county, Erie County was my favorite county. Of course, I live here, and I really think this community has so much potential. And so I looked at the offices of mayor, and I looked at the offices of county executive, and I really decided that county government is a government that's more aligned with my interests and the things that I really feel affect the quality of life here for all. So that's when I decided to run for the county executive in 2013.
So in 2013, I don't imagine you ever expected to face something that you're facing right now.
No, this is something that no one, I think, could have predicted. And as some people say, I didn't sign up for this, but no one did, right? This is something completely unprecedented in well over 100 years, and it certainly has been challenging for everyone.
So what's that been like to kind of, I mean, obviously you've had this position for a while, and then now kind of being faced with this, I feel like it's probably adjusted a little bit.
I think what I found through this whole time is that a lot of the skills that I have and a lot of the things that I've learned and abilities that I've gained over my whole lifetime really have, I think, put me in a good position to be the county executive at this moment. First of all, I have a healthcare background. I was a dietitian, and I worked in a hospital for many, many years. So I understand the medical lingo, and I understand a lot of things about disease and about how contagions happen. And so I think that gave me a bit of a heads up in terms of a political leader, because I can really identify better with those who are working in the medical field and understand what they're talking about. And so I think that was very helpful. Public health has always been an interest of mine too in terms of county government. The public health department is one of the departments I've really, I guess, put more emphasis on and focus on than maybe some others, because it's something I'm very aligned with in terms of my former career. And so there's a lot of things like that that I think put me in a better position to lead this. And I think honestly some of this is about being a mother. You know, I'm a mother of 5, and so you learn a lot of different skills when you're a mother. And in some ways, I don't want to say I'm the mother of the county, but I think some of that mothering came out during my leadership through this pandemic, because I really care about this community. And as a mother, you want everyone to be healthy and to be productive and to be able to do the things that they need to do. And I think that came out a lot in my leadership as county executive.
And then taking a look back from the beginning, whenever we had the first case, or just a little bit prior to that, everything that was implemented, I guess, how would you say the overall handling of COVID went countywide?
You know, I think that our county could be put up against any county in this country in terms of our response to COVID-19. You know, even from before our first case, of course, we were already talking about this, we were already preparing. I don't think any one of us really could have predicted how severe it became in our country and just the response level, and now how long we're still going to have to continue to react to this pandemic. But we had the right people in place. Melissa Lyon, as the director of the health department, I couldn't ask for a better leader in that realm. Shar Behringer, who has been with the county forever, she is a really great leader of those clinical services that are really key to this. And then we were able to bring back Karen Tobin, who had been the head of our environmental services for many, many years. Brianna Adams was actually out on maternity leave, so that gave an opening to bring Karen back, and Karen's just, again, a wealth of knowledge. And we brought Rich Connect back, who had also worked at the health department. So I felt like we just had so many of the right people in place. And then finally, John McEnroe, who was recently came out of his position in the sheriff's department to lead countywide to be our new safety officer. And this was something that was just approved in the budget at the end of the year. And so we had a safety officer already in county government, but he was brand new into the position and sort of just feeling his way. And boom, we moved him right over to the COVID-19 response, and he led the operations until just this week. So it's funny how sometimes the timing comes right together. And then I'll say one more person. We had recently brought in Melissa Dixon as our public information officer, and she just did a phenomenal job with helping us communicate to the public. So I truly felt like we had all the right people in place for this moment.
And then obviously I want to touch on the motherly aspect. Why was that so important to you, as obvious as that question might be?
You know, I think being a mother has actually helped me be a better politician all around. When you raise children, you know they're all unique and they're all different, and they all have unique needs that you have to address. And so as a mother of 5, I was constantly juggling all of their needs and again looking out for each one of their specific interests and trying to help them through that. So when you're dealing with a pandemic like this, you have a lot of different things coming at you all the time, and being able to understand that there's needs from the health department, there's needs from the public safety department, there's the needs of the community and the information they want, and there's the needs of the media who wants to tell the story, and so being able to juggle all of that is something I think I learned pretty well as a mother, juggling a lot of different things and a lot of different interests. But I think a lot of it just goes to that nurturing aspect of being a mother that you really learn. Nobody's born maybe with that, but I think you learn that over time and how to nurture people and raise them up. And so that nurturing aspect comes out for me as an elected official for this community as a whole.
And then taking a look from the beginning to where we're at now, what would you say is the biggest obstacle, I guess, you faced?
I think the biggest obstacle was simply that none of us had ever done this before. I often made the comment that we are building this plane as we fly it. And in some ways we're still doing that because COVID-19 and this whole pandemic has been constantly changing. And what you know now, sometimes the next day isn't actually the way it is anymore. And from the guidelines to the recommendations to the testing, who should wear masks, who shouldn't wear masks, all of those things were constantly evolving, and they still are. And I think because it's been over 100 years since we've dealt with a pandemic like this, I also think because our country, our state, our local hasn't invested in public health over many decades now the way they should have, we were not prepared for this. And so that's been the biggest obstacle and challenge. Sometimes the communication between us and the state wasn't where it should have been or where we had hoped it would be, and we're always looking for that guidance, and they're looking for the guidance from the federal government. So there's been definitely some disconnects through the state federal chain down to the local.
And then as you mentioned, 100 years over plus that anyone's ever dealt with something like this. So I guess how was that to be the top leader within the county at this given time?
Well, COVID-19 is going to be the biggest story of this era, I think. I can't imagine anything else being bigger, really. And so being here again at this moment, I'm honored, truthfully, to be here. I think, again, I have the skill set that was needed at this moment. Certainly certain things I've done and maybe will do could be done differently and maybe better, and we'll only know that in hindsight. But I think that it's a historical time, and again, I'm just honored that I at least can play a part in trying to keep our community safer.
And then obviously during this time, it definitely became a little, I guess, political, in the realm of how the community was reacting, etc. So obviously with the family issue that happened in the beginning of the pandemic, do you feel like that was politically motivated from other sides? How overall do you feel amidst a pandemic that people were trying to focus on something like that?
Well, definitely bringing your family and personal issues into what are really large community policies, to me, is never a good thing. And it's almost always politically motivated. And of course, it was hurtful and it was disturbing, and I had to deal with it. As I'm trying to deal with a crisis and a pandemic on a community level, I now had to deal with some very personal things. I'm the kind of person who takes things on head on. And I thought, there's no sense in just trying to sweep this under the carpet. We're going to bring it out, we're going to talk about it, and then I'm going to move on. But I've always been of the belief, and I think most people in this country are of the belief, that families should be left out of a political person's work as much as possible. So, we've seen this with presidents, and the press pretty much leaves their children alone. They don't try to bring them into the fray. And the spouse, sometimes that's a little different, but even with the spouse, most of the time they try to leave them out of the fray. And I was very disturbed that happened here locally, but I also know that it's part of being in politics, and that the potential for that to happen is always there.
And then obviously being in politics, you're either really liked or really disliked. So I guess what was that like, and not just from your perspective, but we've talked before with medical professionals. What is that like to kind of see the community turn? They're very wishy-washy, it seems.
One of the best advice somebody gave me when I got into politics was that third rule. That for the most part, there's going to be a third of the people that are going to like you no matter what you do. They might like me because I'm a Democrat. They might like me because I'm a woman. They might like me for whatever reason. There's a third of the people that are never going to like me no matter what I do. Again, it might be because I'm a Democrat. It might be because I'm a woman. Whatever reason it is. And then there's the other third in the middle that kind of move back and forth. It was helpful information. It was helpful advice for me, because when I see the critics out there, and they're always going to be there, I can sort of mentally put them in that bucket of that third that I'm never going to please. I'm never going to make happy no matter what I do. And I have to just know that I'm doing the best I can right now, and the best with all of the knowledge that is in front of me. I'm making the best decisions that I can for this community. And the detractors will be there no matter what. And I have to just know that there's many in the community that are grateful for the work we're doing.
And then is there anything, taking a look back, that you'd have done differently?
I can't think of anything I would do differently at this point. I'd have to think about that. But I'm sure when we look back at this, there will be a number of things that we will debrief about. And we'll say we should have done something a little bit differently here or there. And there's small things that certainly we could have done differently. But when I look at Erie County and the low death rate that we have here, again, that's the ultimate goal, is to save lives. So if we just take that death rate and put it up against almost any other county of our size, and even many smaller counties, we've done a really good job here. And that is really the ultimate goal. How do we keep a community safe and save lives?
And then my last question's hope, wishes moving forward.
Well, my hope is that we get a vaccine sooner than later. And I keep reminding people there's 8 billion people in the world. So when this vaccine does come out, which we hope it does, who's going to get it first, and how fast can they manufacture it? So my hope is that all of this can be done in a very safe way, but quickly, so that we can all get our lives back to normal.